Hey, Annelise, I have just declared this month to be capital raising month because it is so important that everybody figure out how to do this capital raising thing. If you don't, you're not going to be able to go very far in this business. So I know you got a bunch of capital raising questions, and I am looking forward to hearing them.
Okay, let's roll. So what's the number one reason someone doesn't get awarded a deal even though their offer looks solid?
Yeah, this is a really good question because most people that are new in the business, they can't figure it out. Here it is. The number one reason you are not getting awarded deals is not what you think. It's because the broker doesn't think you can raise the money. Brokers are never, ever, ever going to give you a deal if they don't think you can raise the capital, especially right now because there are deals falling apart left and right. In fact, I'm looking at a deal right now that the last guy or gal, I don't know if it was a man or woman, tried to buy it. And they had to give up after 2.5 months just because they don't have a lot of experience. They definitely couldn't raise the capital. And so now we have an opportunity to buy a deal that we probably shouldn't have the opportunity to buy because they couldn't raise the capital. So this is a really hot topic for brokers right now. And if they don't think you can raise the capital, they are not going to give you the deal.
Okay, so if someone's got a great deal in a strong market, why might they still fail to raise enough capital?
Yeah, so everybody thinks if you got a good deal, the money will find you, right? That's what everybody thinks. Guess what? The number one reason you are not raising capital is not the deal. It's probably not the market. It's the fact that investors don't trust you yet. Trust is really, really important. I want to ask you, Annelise, if you met me today, would you be willing to hand over $100,000 tomorrow? Probably not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not, right? See, raising capital is about 80% trust. It just is. The deal is really important. The market's really important and all that, but you've got to trust me because what you know is that once you give me your money, you're 100% dependent on me to make good decisions, do the right thing, treat you fairly, all that sort of stuff, and it's trust. And I always tell people, think about raising capital as courting a significant other, right? This just takes time to happen. These are relationships that need to develop. We have people that will follow us sometimes for as much as 2 years. Now that's an extreme case, but some people move that trust meter at their own pace, right? Some people are willing to move it quickly. Some people are very, very safe and conservative, and they want to see us or see you in many different scenarios. So 100% about trust. Yes, you got to have a good deal. But if you're not raising money, there's a really good chance that you're just not building that trust that you need to build.
So why do you think so many investors say they're interested in a deal, but never actually send the money?
And you got some good ones. So here's the thing. Everybody, when you first talk to them about your deal, they love it. But here's what happens. There's 3 reasons that they tell you that. Number one, they don't know you yet. We kind of just talked about that a little while ago about why they're not willing to send you the money. Number 2, you just send them too much information, way, way too much information. Number 3, you don't have a system for following up. So let me pick these apart a little bit for a minute. So they don't know you, right? This is the trust thing. They've got to get to know you. There was probably a time 5 years ago where they were going to be far more aggressive than they are today. But investors are just more careful right now, and I'm glad that they are. Secondly, you're just giving them way, way, way too much information when you talk to them. I used to, remember I'm a CPA and commercial lender by background, so I used to think that just pour the data on, that's what they needed, because that's the way my brain worked. And what I learned later was that you're giving them so much data that they can't digest it, right? Or it takes a long time to digest it. So you're just pouring on way more information than they need, and therefore they're a little confused. They're not fully digested yet with the information, so they don't send you the money. And then finally, this is really ridiculous, but I talk to investors all the time. It says, oh yeah, I talked to that other person about their deal, but we had a meeting and then they never followed up. And that's crazy to me, right? And I think it's because people think, hey, if they were really interested, they would follow up with me. And that's not how it works.
No.
They're trying to figure out if you're a professional or not, and professionals follow up. That's just what you do. It is not hounding people. That is not what it's about. It is being professional. If you're going to be in business, you should follow up with your customers, right? No different?
Yeah.
So fix these 3 things. You got to make sure they know you. You stop giving them way too much information. I'm not saying you withhold it, but it's too much. And give them what they need. And then finally, make sure you're following up with them.
Fortune's in the follow-up.
It is. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're talking to investors about a multifamily deal, what are the top 3 things that you absolutely have to get right?
Yeah, there are 3 things that you got to do when you're talking to these guys. And I've kind of made it my rules. Number one, the meeting, the conversation is about them. You must make it about them first. They are not here for you. You are here for them. So you've got to make sure that you understand what they're about, what they're trying to accomplish, and make the whole conversation about them, because you're trying to solve a problem for them. They're looking for a place to put their money. Number 2, you got to show them what you're doing. Don't just tell them. People, after a while, they just tune out. The words don't matter anymore. But if you've got visuals on the screen, you've got pictures, you've got stuff like that, it matters. So you have to show them, don't just tell them. And then finally, again, I go back to what I used to do early on in my career. The CPA lender in me thought they wanted to see 10 years of pro formas and this rent survey and that rent survey, and it's just too much. It's just, don't give them that much. They don't want that much. Again, that doesn't mean you should withhold information, but give them the information that they need. So to just, revisit this thing, 3 things you got to do when you're talking to investors. You must make it about them. Number 2, you have to show them what you're doing, show them the deal. And 3, give them the information they need, not everything you could possibly ever know about a real estate deal.
So what would you say is the biggest reason most people fail to raise capital? And is it something that can be fixed quickly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think there's one really important reason that people fail when they're trying to raise capital. The good news is they can fix it really quick. We do this in our capital raising workshop all the time. They don't have a system. So imagine if you're getting on a Zoom call or a meeting or a phone call with an investor, and every single time you do it, you kind of wing it. You don't have a system. You don't have a process. You don't methodically walk them through that process. If you don't have a good system and you practice that system, you're never going to feel good about any of these meetings, right? You're not going to know where you're going next. Your conversation's going to wander all over the place, and it's going to cause you to fail. It just will. So that system is critical. You need to take the time to develop that system. If you're not able to develop yourself, go find it. Go learn it from somebody who has done it a million times.
So what are 3 things that'll make an investor lose confidence with you?
Yeah, so this is a great question. Number 1, I see people do this all the time. They overpromise. This deal is going to give you a 30% annual return. Well, most investors know if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? So that's number 1. Don't overpromise them. Be realistic about your returns. It'll also probably get you in trouble if you promise them 30%. And you deliver only 25. Like, who would complain about 25, but it's not 30 if you overpromised, right? Number 2, people dodge questions all the time, mostly because they don't know. First of all, doing this in a webinar setting or a one-on-one investor call can make you nervous. I get that. I understand. But what happens is if you know your deal in and out, those questions are all answerable, because investors are going to ask you why you did this, what's that, why is that happening? And if you just know the answer, then you're good. If you don't know the answer, you're going to start dodging those questions. And then finally, you got to know your numbers. I just would remind people on a regular basis. You ever watch Shark Tank and you show up and Mr. Wonderful and you don't know your numbers, he is going to eat you alive. You might as well tap out right then and there, because it's going to be ugly from there on. So you got to know your numbers. Those are real. I'm telling you, I see this all the time, believe it or not.
So when an investor is deciding between you and someone else, what's one factor that makes them select you?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm going to go back to in the beginning. In the beginning, I used all these cool words, NOI, cap rates, blah, 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 gross potential rent. I tried to use all the fancy jargon. You can't do that. You've got to, look, real estate is not complicated. Explain your deal, and this is not an insult to investors. But if you can explain it so a 10-year-old understands it, then you're speaking in normal words. You're speaking in normal tone. You're talking about the deal the way somebody would talk about it if they were just sitting at a restaurant at a table, right? You don't start spewing off all the cool real estate jargon that you know, right? Because that doesn't impress people because they don't know what most of these words mean. Or maybe they do, they just don't. So just be clear. We usually win because they understand what our investment is. We help them understand exactly what it means, what's in it for them, and we do it without getting fancy.
So how can somebody make their investor pitch unforgettable to an investor?
Yeah. So again, I got 3 rules I like people to follow here. Number 1, you got to make your story interesting. Tell the story, right? If you just stand up and start spewing facts, people are like, "Oh my gosh, I want to kill myself," because they don't want to hear that. But if instead you help them understand what the story is, every deal has a story. You have a story. Make your pitch in terms of a story, because then people relate to that. They just do. Number 1, I mentioned this earlier on. Show them, don't tell them. A picture, when we present, I use a lot of pictures. I make sure they're big pictures, not little pictures, because people take in. Pictures worth 1,000 words. I know everybody says that, but it really is. I can't do it justice. I can show you one picture of a deal and you already know many, many things about that. And then finally, stop using the real estate jargon. Just don't do that. People, they just gloss over it. Or what happens is if you use a word that they don't understand, let's pretend like you use the word, "Hey, we're going in at even leverage." Well, if they don't know what that is, they're going to spend the next minute or 2 while you're talking, trying to show them more information. They're still trying to figure out what even leverage means. So now you've distracted them because now they're trying to figure out what that means if they don't stop you right away. So those 3 rules. One, kind of use stories to tell your story. Number 2, make sure you show them. And number 3, keep it simple. Don't use fancy words.
No buzzwords.
No buzzwords.
Okay, so looking back, I mean, what's one thing you wish you knew before your first capital raise?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2. First of all, you got to start early. I didn't understand that. Most people think, and I watch people do this today, they think, well, I don't need to start raising capital until I get my deal. I don't have a deal to talk about. Why would I start early before then? Well, you have to. Why? Because let's go back to the trust thing we talked about. It's going to take a minute to develop this trust. And, when you get a deal under contract, you got about 60 days to close. That means you are doing some real serious relationship development in a really, really short period of time. And it's just not enough time. It's enough time for some people, but you need to stretch it out. And I just didn't understand that early on. And number 2, I know you asked for 1, but I'm going to give you 2. Confidence comes from preparation and repetition. Like, there's only one way for me to stand up in front of 100 people and talk about my deal, and that is if I know it cold. Remember, know the numbers, know this cold. When I know my numbers, when I know my deal, and I prepare and actually rehearse it a few times, now everything changes for me. So I didn't understand that. My first year, I kind of winged. I don't know if that's a word, but like it is.
Winged it.
We winged it. I winged it, and it didn't go well, right? So those are I know you asked for 1, but those are 2 things that I want you to focus on.
No, and now when an investor brings up a particular question or goes, deep in the weeds with you, there's no hesitation. You're not going to get rocked by something that they say or get caught off guard because you know the deal inside and out.
You're not wrong. Exactly.
Okay, cool. So what's one mindset shift that completely changed the way that you approached raising money?
Yeah, I used to hate the thought of asking somebody for money because I felt like I was begging, right? You felt like, you please give me money, right? Well, you're not asking for money for food here. That's not what you're doing. What you're actually doing now, remember, this is assuming that you took the time to learn the business, you know how to underwrite, you're a professional. This is what you do, and you believe this is a tremendous opportunity. Why do you believe that? Well, because you did all the homework and you got to know the business. And then what happens then is you realize, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not begging them for money. No. We are going to make an enormous amount of money together, or at least you believe that legitimately. We are actually offering people an opportunity. As soon as I changed that mindset, it changed everything, right? I was afraid to say things before. Now I say them with conviction because, now we're 27 years into the business. But even if you're new, if you understand the numbers and you understand the deal and You've gone to all the comps and you've driven around the neighborhood. You're like, man, I know this is a great deal. I know the rents are below market. I just know that. When you do that, you are now offering somebody an opportunity. You are not begging them to come along on the ride with you, because the ride with you is going to be awesome, and you don't need to beg anybody to go on that ride with you.
Yeah, it's going to be a lucrative one.
It will, hopefully.
Yeah. So why do you think so many people feel nervous talking to investors then?
Oh man, there's probably a million reasons, but let me try to rattle off three. So, number one, you don't know your stuff. If I don't know my stuff, I can't talk to people about it. I get really, really nervous. And if you're early on in this game and you don't know your stuff, again, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Shark Tank, he will bury you alive if you don't know your stuff. Number two, you got to know what you can and you can't say. What do I mean by that? So you're nervous partially because you don't know what you're allowed to say and what you're not, right? So we're talking about the legal things. We're talking about making promises to investors that you can't keep, all that kind of stuff, right? So, I strongly recommend that you take some time to learn how to capital raise from somebody who knows how to do it. And then you'll learn what you can and can't say, and you'll feel comfortable because you'll be prepared for making sure your answers are worded the right way so as to not mislead anyone. And then finally, people, if you're afraid that you're not going to be successful, then you're going to feel really weird about asking somebody else to participate with you, right? So This goes back to how can you not be afraid? Well, the only way is to take the time to learn the business, know the numbers, know everything about the deal, know deep in your mind, in your heart, this is going to be a screaming deal. And if you feel that way and you're legitimate and you've done all the homework, and if you've done all the homework, and if you have, then you're no longer afraid of being successful. So those are the three things that I think if you focus on those, the most important being the knowledge thing, right? Knowledge always builds confidence. I say that all the time, but I think that's the way to solve that problem.
So our team has personally raised over $200 million from investors. So what would you say are the three biggest reasons behind that success?
Well, first of all, I like to think it's our system. We have been doing this over and over and over again for a very long time. And our system is very well defined. We know what we should be saying to people early on in the process. We know what we should be saying to people when we're talking to a lot of people, maybe on a webinar or in a room. We know what we should be saying to people and how to present that deal if you're doing a one-on-one call. So that system, right? And then we have a follow-up system and all that. So our system, number one, is absolutely responsible for the fact that we've been able to raise collectively with our team over $200 million. Number two, we practice that system, right? It's great to have a system, but if you literally don't ever practice it or focus on it, you're not going to deliver it well. And the worst thing you could possibly do is deliver, or I should say practice, on a potential investor. Why would you do that? You would never want to do that. And then finally, our whole system is not about, hey, how much money did you raise today? That is not what it's about. It's about making sure that the investment matches the investor, make sure what they're trying to accomplish. Remember, I said it's all about them, and it is. Make sure that what they're trying to do, this investment matches up, right? We don't try to put square pegs in round holes. So between our system, the fact that we practice it, and we stay 100% focused on our investors all the time, that's why that's a big part of our reason for our success. At least that's what I believe.
Yeah, and I'd say a big philosophy at KRI is, staying ready so that you don't have to get ready. We practice every single day for that reason, so that we make sure we're taking care of the clients to our best of our ability.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Dead on.
So in your experience, what's the number one thing people get wrong when they try to raise capital?
Yeah, they wait too long. They wait till they have a deal. Problem is, when you wait till you have a deal, you're trying to build investor trust really, really fast. So now you're trying to force it, and you can't. You can't force this. This is not something you should be cramming down somebody's throat. So you've got to start early on, right? So we have our capital raising workshop right around the corner. We only do 2 of these a year. And let me tell you, we take you through the system. And here's the system starts the moment you decide that you want to be in multifamily. You're like, well, Ken, how can I raise capital? I don't know anything yet. But you need to start warming them up to the idea. We show you exactly how to do that. Then, by the way, this thing is a 2-week program, right? 3 Fridays in a row. That's what we focus on the first Friday. The second Friday, we're going to show you exactly how we talk to lots of people. I call it one-to-many. So now maybe we're on a Zoom webinar, we're rolling out our investment opportunity to a lot of people. How do we do that? How do we pitch it? What do we talk about? What kind of pictures do we use? All that stuff. So we show you all that in the second session. And in the third and final session, we go deep on the one-to-one, right? So now somebody's raised their hand and say, you know what, I want to learn more. And now you have that one-on-one discussion that, guess what, is focused 100% on them. So we're going to show you how we do that. Throughout the whole process, you're going to get everything that we use. Our scripts, our templates, our webinar template, our follow-up process, every single thing that we do, you're going to get a copy of that in the program. So look, if you're trying to get into multifamily, you're going to have to tackle this capital thing, no matter what. You just do, unless you're wealthy or you plan on only doing one really small deal. So get after this thing early on. It's going to drive your success or not drive your success. And look, we've done it. Over $200 million we've raised from retail investors. So our system works. And the last thing I didn't say about our capital raise workshop is we practice this with you. You are going to get to role play this with our team and then get feedback from our team so that you are comfortable, that you know exactly what to say and when to say it and how to say it. We walk you through that whole process. Annelise, you talked about us practicing every day. This is exactly what we do every day, and we're going to do it with you. So all you need to do is reach out to our team a couple of ways. One, go to kripartners.com/capital and learn more about the program, or just call or text our team at 216-290-1710, and we will get you everything that you need.